Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us. Some mayors won't be able to join us because, frankly, they're evacuating their communities. Just now, there was an update. I and Canby and a lot of folks are now level 2. And so last night, we met with the fire marshal and agreed that we needed help from the federal government. And he walked out of the room and got on the phone, and some federal folks are here already. But I'm going to let Nancy, who is our emergency operations director, correct? Titles.
Yeah.
And she's going to give us the very latest update. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to do the best I can. Probably most of you know, or many of you know, we just sent out 2 more evacuation zones, which are 3 and 2. 2 is going to be, of course, up to the river, the Willamette, and then down 99. So that is going to level 2. There are areas that we're concluding the rest of Molalla. And I believe I wrote it down. I think going over to Henrici Road and then up is going to be A1.
Nancy,
So
I can give a clearer picture on that if you want real quick.
Please do.
So yeah, originally we had level 3 out, not including out 211 in the southern portion of 211. Molalla has gone to a level 3 and they're evacuating Molalla. They're in the process of doing that right now. We have pushed a buffer zone of level 2 all the way to from the county line on the west side up to the Pudding River, which connects to the Molalla River, which connects to the Willamette, and the Willamette all the way up to Highway 212 and all the way out. Can you hear me okay? Somebody else maybe.
Somebody needs to mute their phone.
Can Carolyn or Jim, whoever's hosting this meeting, mute all the participants?
I'll stand by. All right, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. All right. So the western county line north of Highway 211 is now a buffer zone all the way up to the Pudding River. Pudding River connects with the Molalla River, dumps into Willamette. Willamette following all the way up to Highway 212. 212 over eastbound where it connects up into Highway 26. Highway 26, the southern edge of that, all the way out to Sandy, including the city of Sandy, connecting back into what we've already had as a level 3 evacuation zone. So this includes the major cities now of Canby and Oregon City in a level 2 evacuation notification, which is just the be ready yellow zone. So anything essentially south or east of the Willamette River and south of the Willamette River and up to the southern portion of Highway 26 to include the city of Sandy are on level 2. We did increase some level 3 evacuations, which are around the Beaver Creek area. Those alerts went out. It includes anything east of Highway 213, north of Molalla, up to Henrici, then east, and then up to the Redland area. So you'll see that on the county interactive map as well. And those evacuation notifications are happening along with the city of Molalla, who we're partnering with now.
The map showed. Okay, Nancy.
All right, thank you, Shane, because the sheriff's office, obviously, they are very, very involved in the mapping and determining what may or may not go to level 1 and 2 with our fire agency. So thank you very much for that, because you have all of that detail down pat. So I know we were talking a little bit about, what is going to be happening with everyone that is evacuating. I actually have several people in a room right now figuring that out. We will have more information about that at 3 o'clock. We're going to be having a media release at that time, media event. So I will be getting off of this call just a little bit early to go to that. And I heard someone joking about going to send everybody to Portland. We actually are going to be using facilities in Multnomah County to make sure that we get people safe as they can be and not have to worry about if we need to move them again. The other thing is that we cannot have any kind of sheltering in a level 2 area. And now that most of the county is, going to a level 2, not all of it, but we want to make sure that we don't have to move people again, because it's very traumatic, of course, when you leave your home. And then if you get in a shelter or someplace that you feel safe, and then we have to take you and move you again. So we're working with Multnomah County. And in fact, we are also starting to work a little bit with Clark County with that as well. The fire itself, as you can tell, there is concern that they are going to be seeing the fire doing some movement. The biggest concern is there are now 2 large fires that are starting to merge around that Moala area, which is why the Sheriff's Office, as well as fire, has now made the move to put more people on the level 3 and to watch that very, very closely to see what happens this afternoon. From what I understood, when I did talk to the chief probably about an hour and a half ago, he's looking like anywhere from 2 to 6. So there may be a lot of activity going on there now. The other thing I wanted to update everyone on is that we do have the fire marshal that is now here in ODF, and they have taken over some of the hot spots and some of the areas that are doing some firefighting. There is a transition between them taking over some responsibility. We do have a federal type 1 team that is coming here. Some of the individuals are here already, and that the resources they will bring with them, of course, is manpower, firefighting, air resources, and those types of things as well. So that transition over to that type 1 team will be over the next 24 to 48 hours. We are here at our EOC. We have that the fire incident command is also here with us. When the type 1 team comes in, they'll be setting up a fire camp, and we'll be working with them on where that fire camp is going to go, as well as they'll be integrating into our EOC as well. They bring with them mostly logistics, and they do everything from feeding their firefighters, making sure that those things are done, and all of the things, all of the logistics around the fire are taken care of, which of course is very much needed and invited by the county as well as our fire defense board. So that is, I think, the big pieces that we have going on. We are aware, of course, that we have animals at the fairgrounds. And again, we are working to move them as well. And seeing, we already had some other spaces for animals to go, so we're working on that. I'm not quite sure where they're going yet, but we're definitely working on that.
So anybody have any questions? Yes, Mark.
So I've been being asked by a couple of people, is there some system that's more of a push system than all of us continuing to look at the maps and wait for updates and to see what's happening with those? Is there a push system that's causing people to get a phone call or a text or something like that when the level changes?
Yes, there is. So when, for example, now that we're in level 2, if we were to go to level 3, we will get another, I got one on the phone. Hopefully you guys did too, but we're using a wireless system. So we can also, get the cell phones, as well as we use a system that goes to landlines and anyone who is signed up for our public alert system. So that is the push that we are doing. And we work with the Sheriff's Office and fire to make sure we have all of the information correct, the mapping correct before that is sent out.
So do people have to have subscribed to the public alert system?
Not the public alerts, so not the wireless, and we're using the wireless. So if they have a cell phone, they should get the alert. And we are using wireless, which is a permission we have from FEMA for extreme events. And Shane, you had something else there?
Yeah, so there's multiple things there. So they can sign up, as Director Bush said, they can sign up for the public alerts through the county site. We're pushing that with every information. If we change to a level 3 evacuation, so we're doing an Everbridge call to all the residents in that geographic boundary. And then in addition, if it's a level 3 evacuation, which you just saw changed for some of the areas, if you're close to them, they're getting a wireless boundary. So anybody with a wireless phone in that boundary area gets the alert as well.
And in addition to that too, we have the ability, so if we want it set for up to 24 hours, so anyone that drives into that for that wireless area will get the alert. And we have been using that feature as well.
All right, is that a text or is that a phone call?
It's a text.
Okay.
Yes, and our texts are shorter because we want to make sure that all cell phones can accept it. And the older cell phones don't do the longer characters. So it is a shorter text, and that is why you'll see a shorter text.
Commissioner Schrader has her hand up.
You're on mute, Jim.
Excuse me, I said Martha and Mayor
That's
Axelrod.
okay. So I just wanted to let Dan know, I just got back from Oregon City. They had a group up on Berry Hill Mall providing food and clothing and drinks and everything for anybody. And we basically moved them down to Clackamas Park. So Dan, I just wanted to make you aware of that because
We're
I
aware.
didn't, okay, good, because I finally said, well, anybody gives you hassle, just say Martha told you to do it. So now I can now I can say that Dan told you to do it. But anyway, Nancy, so how are you guys up there? You're at level 2. It was, you could feel the heat, you can see the smoke, you can see all the, so how, are you guys still in the EOC?
Yes, we're still in the EOC. I am making arrangements if we do need to leave here and where we're going to go. And I have talked to my fire chief as well, and because he'll have to go with us, and we're trying to make sure that we're going to, if we have to leave, that we'll go to a place that we don't have to.
So my other question is, given if Oregon City has to evacuate, where are we going to, I mean, what have we got planned? Have we got other cities kind of ready to take in?
So here's what we have right now. I just hot off the press. So we are going to be making announcements later today at 3 o'clock. So
Okay.
evacuations for right now is Convention Center in Portland for
Okay.
congregate sheltering. And the
Can you
town
repeat that?
center, I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, it is the Convention Center in Portland for congregate sheltering.
Okay.
And the town center is where we're going to put RVs right now.
Okay.
We are continuing to plan for other locations in anticipation that we may have more evacuations.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Please do not send that information out until, because we're going to do that at 3 o'clock, please.
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
No, and I was just telling everyone to please, let us make that announcement.
Okay.
We make sure everything is solid.
Okay.
May I ask a question, please? This is
Yeah.
Senator Taylor here. I represent Milwaukee and Oak Grove. That's my portion of Clackamas. Obviously, I care about all of Clackamas. I am just getting a lot of people asking information, phone calls. I know there's a lot of misinformation, and I want to make certain that I'm communicating correct information. Okay. And so, and Mr. Gamba, Mayor Gamba is on the phone as well. So is on this call here. What should we be telling residents of Milwaukee and Oak Grove at this time, please? And is there a concern, since obviously Clackamas abuts Multnomah County, is there a concern that the fire could spread into Multnomah County? Does anyone have any information on that?
I am sorry, I could not get a fire representative for this call. So we really cannot answer that call regarding, the question regarding fire at this point. I do know that when I was in their IC just not that long ago, they're really waiting to see what happens this afternoon.
Okay,
So-
so Mayor Gamba, have you received any, as the mayor, has anyone communicated with you about what you should be communicating to Milwaukee residents?
This is what, I mean, Anne may have other information, but I have not been specifically reached out to now.
So Senator Taylor, the thing that we've been doing for the city is just making sure that the information is consistent with Nancy's information. So we're actually sharing the same post that she is. So if you want to reshare anything off of our Facebook page, it explains what it means to be in level 1. It explains why we're all making sure that we're prepared tonight. And then I'm also happy, just so you know, Senator Taylor, to contact you directly if I hear anything. But all the information that I'm getting is from Nancy, and I really appreciate that they're keeping us and our emergency manager up to date. Kathleen, I'll also send you our emergency manager's phone number so that you can contact them directly. And then Chief Strait is also in the midst of this, so we can also help you there.
Okay, I mean, obviously, there we have more populated areas. All of Clackamas County matters. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. The this convention center obviously cannot hold. I just, moving people into Portland, which I'm welcome. I've already offered my house. I can take a family of 4, etc. But I'm just saying that is this safe? Who's saying that it's safe to move towards Portland when South Portland could be in danger? Is what I'm trying to understand.
When I talked to my fire chief and said, here's our plan, he approved. We had other things on the list and he said, I suggest not there. So,
okay. So he said Portland seemed like a good idea.
When we said, and there are other things on the list, which I can't mention right now, but yes, and he looked at certain things. He said, yes, these are things, I would be comfortable with that. There were a couple things he's like, not comfortable with that.
Okay, that's the information. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you, Ann.
Yes, and we did have a call. I had a call today at noon with our city emergency manager. Some of you were on that call as well. So we are making sure that we're in touch with our cities.
So Russ and then Frank.
Yeah, thank you for those clarifications. And Senator, for your benefit, it really is important that we get information out of just kind of one source. And since the county is the lead on our emergency response, we always tend to just refer our constituents to information that's coming out of the county, and we push out that information at every opportunity, and all of our cities, I believe, are doing the same. So one of the questions I have is on this alert response. I had signed up for the county alert, and I've not received an alert yet. So one of my questions is, did you say I need to be in one of those other zones to get the alert? Or because we're across the river in West Lynn, we don't get the alert because we're not in either 1, 2, or 3.
That's right. So, right, you will not, there could be overspray. I will tell you, there could be overspray, which means sometimes, especially with wireless, it's just going to go because it doesn't know where. It's like, this is your stopping point, but they can do it within a 1/10 of a mile. But you're right. So if you're in West Lynn, I live in West Lynn, I'm not going to get that notice unless I got one today because I am here at the county. But if I were at home, I shouldn't have gotten it. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and just as far as if we're receiving inquiries about what to do here in West Lynn, and I'm encouraging people that the current established zones 1, 2, and 3 are based on the current fires. And so beyond that zone, for now, we don't have to worry. But, just stay in tune with things, keep our eye on things. And if things change, then like if we get a fire in West Lynn, well, that's a whole new boundary and a whole new zone setup. And then that will trigger some additional response. So I want to make sure I've got that right.
That is correct.
Okay, good. And then it would not be appropriate, I guess, to offer, I haven't talked to our school superintendent at this point, but we do have some not enclosed shelter opportunities so much here in West Lynn, but we've got some open, park space and things if people want to come and, put their camper down, and, we'd certainly try and accommodate and help that sort of thing if we can. So maybe just, let us know if that's helpful, and maybe we could try and coordinate that. That might get too messy for everyone. I don't know, like you say, you don't want to move them twice, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
no,
don't think in any way we can help. We offered our house already to some friends who may have to evacuate. So, you know, we're going to take in who we can, but if there's anything that our cities can do on the outskirts of this, like Milwaukee and West Lynn, that are kind of out of this immediate danger area, it'd be nice to know.
We've also offered, Russ, so we're happy to take anybody, but Nancy's got a plan, and I don't want to take away from her thing.
You know, and I really do appreciate that. And on the cities called, I did ask for some favors. It's like if I have to move my EOC, in one of the cities help. And I will tell you, Mayor, too, you know, because you have Oregon City, your neighboring city, that's at a level 2. It may be discussions between the two of you too, to say, how can we support you as well? So it's not just the county, there might be some of that inter-city support that can also happen. And I wrote down that we could talk to you about that. Thank you.
Good. Well, to the extent I'm authorized to do that, I say that right now, that we will, you know, take in whoever wants to come, EOC, whoever it is, we'll try and accommodate. Our police station in Willamette is set up. But we also have our city hall at the top of the hill. But I was there earlier today, and it's really smoky, even in the building. I mean, it's not a place to be.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Frank.
I just got a question in the chat area about the rumor, or it might not be a rumor. Clackamas County 911 Dispatch Center may be evacuating, and Washington County's WACA will be dispatching for both counties. Have you heard that?
So
Go ahead, Nancy.
No, go ahead, Gary, please.
Yeah. So yes, we're moving our county CCOM center to Lake Oswego Communications. We have an agreement with Lake Oswego, so we will still be providing the service, but we're transitioning to move to the Lake Oswego Communications Center.
So is WACA taking over during the interim, or WACA's not taking over at all?
We're not taking over at all for now.
Yeah. We've exercised this many times.
Okay.
It goes back and forth too, so I appreciate the relationship with the county. It works really well, even though they're going to take over my lunchroom, so I won't be able to get coffee.
Right. Now, it's good to know, because there was a concern that Washington County, you know, WACA could get overwhelmed because of the fires we're having out in Chehalem. Okay, thank you.
So, for example, Ken is in a yellow zone now, and he got a notice to evacuate. So is that a washover, or would that be?
So he needs to go to the website and put his address in, because he is in a kind of a strange place. He needs to put his address in.
Okay, I did.
He might be a 1, or he may be, I'm sorry, he may be a 2 or a 3.
Can somebody put that web address in the chat?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Or Caroline, could you put that in? It's clackamas.us/wildfires.
Wildfires. And Chair Bernard, it looks like Mayor Pulliam has been raising his hand for a couple of times.
Okay, Mayor?
Yeah, just quick question. For some of us out on this side, it might be actually quicker to get to like Gresham, some of downtown Portland. So like a location like a Mount Hood Community College, has that been considered as a spot to send people?
That's in a level 2.
Well, Mount Hood.
No, Mount Hood.
Oh, Mount Hood. So there's no power on Mount Hood.
Well, no, Mount Hood Community College. That's in East Gresham.
I'm sorry. Mount Hood Community College. I am not sure that's on our list. I will check with my team.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
I have a quick question. This is Representative Karin Power.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jim. I put it in the chat, but I doubt there's any place for people to go if they have severe or compromised breathing systems with this smoke. I'm just checking to see if there is any conversation between the counties on where people might be able to go if they don't have a filtration system in their house.
So our public health team is working on that, and I don't have an answer for you immediately, but I do know public health has been working on that and having those conversations in the Tri-County area.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, Chair Bernard, this is Rehana Ansri, Metro Regional Solutions Coordinator for the Governor's Office. I cover Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties. Thank you for letting me join you today. I just wanted to introduce myself for those of you whom I have not met. I've met many of you. Nice to see your faces. Please know that I am a resource here for you if you have any questions or concerns for the state and the governor's office specifically. If there are any gaps or needs, please don't hesitate to let me know. I will include my contact information in the chat. And the governor just had a press conference. Many of you may have already seen it, but I will just share that as you may know, she has requested an emergency declaration from the president. That's still pending. If and when that's approved, that will unlock a number of federal resources. She is also standing up a disaster cabinet tomorrow. I believe they meet for the first time. It will provide interagency coordination across the state enterprise and streamline resources as it relates to the wildfire. So again, I'll just include my information in the chat. Please don't hesitate to reach out directly to me if your constituents or communities have any issues that need to be addressed by our office. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross?
Yeah, I had one other question about, I'm hearing rumors and people are talking about stories that these fires have been started by people running around in ATVs, wearing press passes to get by certain places and of starting additional fires. Is there any truth to this? Do we know anything? What do we know about the origin of these fires?
So I can let Shane answer part of that question. But I know that when I talked to the fire chief, they know a couple of them. I understood that they know that a couple of them were started because of down power lines. And I did get that from one of the fire defense corps chiefs. And he said the others were under investigation, that has not been their priority. They're trying to get people out of the way. So they're not for sure on some of them because it's just a priority. Shane, do you have an answer about people having passes and stuff or whatever?
Yeah, this is Strainfield. Hold on one second. I'm listening to emergency broadcast. I'll be back with you in a second.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you know, that's okay if all we know is that there were a couple of these were started by electricity and others are under investigation. I just kind of want to have the most correct and educated response when people are asking the question.
Yeah.
It's not to point fingers or anything. I just want to give correct information as much as possible.
Yeah, and that is what we've been telling people, that definitely it's like life safety is a priority and not the investigation.
Right.
But it will be investigated, not right.
Yeah, I would echo what she said. We've had a few reports of things that we'll be looking into and deal with, but we don't have any information that the wildfires that we're addressing currently was the act of anything other than the natural events that occurred to knock down power lines and cause the fire. There might be some isolated things that we'll investigate it, but not for this major complex fire that we're dealing with now.
Shane, he was also asking if we know of anyone running around fake badges or anything like that.
Other than rumor conjecture on social media, no, I don't have any information. We've been chasing down a lot of reports of looting in progress and things like that, which have turned out to be people helping their neighbors, move stuff and whatnot. Is the major thing that's coming out of all that. We are we are concerned about ongoing efforts of obviously major evacuation areas and people taking advantage of that for looting. So we're asking for some extra authority on curfew maybe, and we're working through that issue to be able to address and talk to people that are out and about that aren't doing anything other, evacuating and doing things other than they should be. So we're trying to address that concern as well.
Great, thank you. Chair, if I just might add, Nancy, I want to thank you for all the work you're doing. This has been quite a year, and to add this on top of all the stuff you've been dealing with and everyone at the county, and likewise all our fire supporters, our legislative representatives, governor's office. This is really a trying time. It's just, it's sort of like Armageddon out there, and this is like end of the world stuff. And we need to keep a positive tone. And I love the collaboration. I just want to thank you all for all your work.
So some of you, I don't even know if the commissioners know this, but at 3 o'clock, we're meeting to discuss publicly a curfew. And so Shane, if you stay on, I don't know if the sheriff's going to make it or not. We're talking about adding that to our emergency ordinance.
Yeah, he's asked me to be on that. I will do my best effort to be there and help with that.
All right.
Nancy, this is Denise at Estacada. Nancy. And can you confirm, I'm hearing reports that they're pulling everyone from Estacada and Malala and there will be no firefighting. Can you let me know if that's true?
I do know that they are pulling everyone from Estacada and Malala. And I do know that they are pulling back some resources because of danger to our fire team.
So they're just gonna let it come into the city?
Well, no, we don't do that. They're doing.
What does that mean, I guess?
Well, there's a flare, they're expecting a flare up, and I'm so sorry, I don't have my fire people here, but obviously they're busy. It was explained to me that they're looking at, and Shane has this too, but they're looking at a flare up. And when a flare up happens, you can't have people there trying to fight the flare up because that puts them in danger and they can't stop it. So Shane, to that too.
Sure. Yeah. So that was the emergency broadcast that I mentioned earlier, just a moment ago. They have ceased firefighting efforts and are pulling back because they've had the fires have come together. There's been a flare up.
And Shane, where was that? I'm sorry.
That's across all firefighting efforts that went out on broadcast. So those fires are together. They're waiting to see what happens with the fire, but the firefighters were in danger on the front lines. We're still working evacuation efforts on the other side of the fire, but all firefighting efforts have been pulled back because of the life safety measure. The firefighters' lives were in danger.
Thank you.
Right, but the fire coming together, you said was closer to Malala?
I can't speak to the exact location. I know that the Beachy Fire and the Riverside Fire have come together, and it would be on the map south east of Malala is where they come together.
But I guess I just need to know, so is everyone leaving Estacada? Is there gonna be nobody fighting around the city of Estacada?
I can't say that for 100%, but what I just heard on the emergency broadcast was to cease all firefighting operations and pull back. So that was an order to all firefighting efforts. So I would assume that would be the case, yes.
Jim, you mentioned something about curfew. That was new.
Well, we understand that there is a possibility that there is some looting going on in areas that people have evacuated. And so the commission is going to meet at 3 o'clock to discuss adding a curfew to our emergency ordinance, which will allow the sheriff's department to stop, arrest, make sure that people are where they're supposed to be.
Thank you.
Question?
Yeah. See, I can't see hands raised.
Tim Knapp, Wilsonville, please.
Tim.
Multiple issues here. The most recent map is showing a level 2 almost bordering on Charbonneau, south of the river. Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of fragile elderly people in centers in Charbonneau. They cannot just get in a car and go. It is within, a very short distance of Charbonneau. We need to have some coordination about what we do. It would take hours, if not days, and I don't know where you're going to take people that are fragile medically out of Charbonneau and what the prospects are. So I think we need a lot more discussion and dialogue about what the implications are. My flashback is on what happened in Katrina in New Orleans when people with no resources were left on their own and could not deal. We do not want to get that close to that kind of a situation. So that's number one. Number two is Wilsonville, other than Charbonneau, is north of the river, of the Willamette River. We do have a significant parking lot at our Smart Central commuter rail station where we could take some people sheltering in RVs if we need to do that. We have not gone out on that publicly, so I'm not sure what the need is or what you are planning that way. Third point is I am told that we have a coordinated fire command center going into the Wilsonville High School, including the feds and some of the state people. I'm not hearing that any of this discussion, so I'm not clear quite how that relates to the command centers that you're talking about, or the emergency operations centers. So can you help me on any of those points?
Yeah. So we did reach out this morning and say if we needed to move, and ask some of the cities if they would be able to assist us. And Wilsonville raised their hand and said yes. We are not planning to move there. I am just trying again to get ahead of the game in case we do have to move out of our facility. So it's not happening, at least right now. I'm not guaranteeing that it won't happen ever, but that anyway, we do have other opportunities. So, and Wilsonville did raise their hand, so I'm not sure if we'll use that facility or not. Does that help there? Okay.
On that point, yes.
And yes, we know that there are fragile at Charbonneau. Right now, we are concentrating on level 3, making sure we get everyone out. As you heard from Shane, we have a lot going on. We have firefighters in danger. So right now we're concentrating on level 3, making sure those individuals are safe. And then we'll start looking at, we are looking at level 2. That is in our, what we are also looking ahead. But right now I have to concentrate on level 3.
So Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, but rather than draw lines down every road and intersection and get a map that this is where the fire's coming, they're just basically using a river and a highway as their marker.
They do use, yes, we do use, try to use major boundaries because that's a lot easier for people to, of course, grasp and to understand. And I will say too, that I know that they are doing these, the evacuation zones in the level 1, 2, and 3 very cautiously because the winds are not helping us. This is very, very dynamic. And we also have the whole issue, not just here for the fires, but everywhere. It is very dry. And I think someone made the point earlier, it's like, what if we have something, that just pops up in, West Lynn because a power line goes down. So they're being extremely cautious and trying to make sure that people know it's like you need to be prepared to leave at that level 2. I'm sorry, there's just no exact science around this, but they are being very cautious. And yes, they do use major things like rivers, highways, in order to make it easier for people to understand.
Well, it's not going to be possible for people in, for instance, Spring Ridge Retirement Center to just be told, okay, now you need to go and you've got half an hour to go. I mean,
and that's why we do a level 2.
Yeah, well, I have not heard anybody planning on how we move that many fragile people within any kind of a time frame at all. I mean, where they would go, how that would happen, it would take, like I say, it would take hours and hours, maybe days. And you've got people who are going to be more fragile if they're moved. And so that would imply we ought to be starting days ahead, not minutes or hours ahead. And I don't know, I mean, does someone have an answer? Has that been talked about?
We have talked about moving fragile, who we can get to do that and how we would do that, yes. I mean, those are things that we do work on. Yeah, and we are working on.
I got a question for Mayor Knapp. Mayor, what map are you looking at that indicated that Charbonneau was in threat? I just got done looking at the Washington County and the Marion County and our map, and Charbonneau is not in a zone of threat. that I can see. So if you have any more information or information I don't have.
I'm looking at the Clackamas County map on this thing that shows yellow reaching almost to Charbonneau. It's almost over to the highway coming up from the airport there. So Charbonneau is still in the green, but just barely.
Right. So it's really on the edge of, it's not near the freeway. So I see the yellow, but I see, okay. It's more along the Canby Aurora lines, not all the way that far west yet.
That is, I agree. That's what I'm seeing. But my point is that mobile people that can be said, okay, get ready to move, you know, and then come back to them, you know, a couple hours later or a day later and say, okay, now go. That's not going to work for these people. We have to do something better than that. Jim's muted, but he's talking.
I'm sure they know that. Nancy mentioned they know that. But I mean, what else do we do? We've got hotel rooms we're reserving. We're partnering with Multnomah and Washington County in emergency situations. We're just going to have to move fast when it happens. And it won't be 5 minutes. I mean, Ken had to leave and he doesn't even see any flames. Any other questions?
Chair Bernard?
Yes.
Meek here. Yeah, just wanted to clarify the curfew. Would that be in certain levels or zones, level 3, level 2, or the whole county?
No, it would be zoned. You know, Stephen's not, he might be here, but I'm sure in the emergency ordinance, we can zone it like level 3 for sure, level 2 if people are leaving. Well, Nancy's nodding her head.
So actually, for what I'm understanding will happen, we do have a measure in there that we can do curfews, and we just need to get that checked and making sure that the commissioners are okay with that. And then the sheriff's office will determine how they will do it in zones. And I think they're working on that as we're speaking as well, what that would look like. But there's just a general check in the emergency measure.
Yeah, we don't determine that. We just check it and the professionals do the work.
But it is my understanding that they're looking at the zones and how they're going to do that.
Gary? Gary Smith?
Literally, as we're talking, I want to clarify on the 911 CCOM. So yes, while our CCOM is moving to Lake Oswego, temporarily today, Washington County is going to cover our 911 calls for a few hours while we can do the transfer. So my apologies, I just read it right now while we were talking, so thank you.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it's working out. The transition will work.
So I apologize. I do have to go now. We're having a media conference at 3 o'clock and I have to change buildings. So thank you guys for your support. And I know this is really, really difficult stuff. I do wish I had all the answers, but I just don't have them right now.
Sure, I'll call you back.
All right, thank you.
Be safe, Nancy.
Okay, thank you guys.
All right, any other questions? This is very dynamic. Please watch our website if we can help. I want to assure you that I've talked to our congressional people, our state people, our governor, the National Guard last night. By the way, there was some comment that why isn't the National Guard in there dropping water? Well, they've tried 3 times. And the wind, the smoke has prevented it. They've had to move even airports from Molino to Aurora, and they haven't been able to drop water. But that's why we decided last night to work with the feds, because they have, you know, big planes and all this equipment that we do not. Who's been fighting the fires is the fire departments from your communities, the volunteers and those people who ride around the community. So we've had areas where if somebody had a heart attack, we may not have somebody there. So this will open up the opportunity for our fire departments to do what they are trained to do. And that's save lives within our cities and rural communities. Any other questions? Representative Lewis, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Jim. No, I was up in Malala yesterday, and it was a little bit disheartening. I think the fire was within about 5 miles of the city from the southeast. So I did have a question on Highway 213. Is it still closed on the Clackamas County for southbound?
I don't know. Is the sheriff's officer still here? I think everyone had to leave to go to a 3 o'clock press conference.
That's okay. I can find out somewhere else, but I appreciate you putting this conference call together, and everybody stay safe out there. It's pretty dangerous in some areas. It's getting close to Silverton at this point, getting close to Scotts Mills. There's a lot of concern about the fires combining. So stay safe and keep in touch.
Thank you. And I guess they have combined around Estacada and Malala. So, Mark, did you raise your hand? Mark Meek? No? Okay. Anyone else? Well, for the commissioners, please stay on this phone call as all the others leave so we can address our emergency ordinance. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim.